What's
Great.
up, man?
Hey, how's it going there today?
Good. How are you?
No complaints. Long press day. Am I at the beginning of it or the end of it?
You're number three.
Number three. Okay, still pretty early. You haven't yet been asked who are your influences yet, right?
No. Thank God I haven't. Like it's been a shock that hasn't come up yet. Normally that's the first thing out of someone's mouth.
Absolutely. So, Mama's Boy is the new forthcoming album. How long has it been done for?
Oh man, I think we handed it in like 2 weeks ago. So it's taken us a lot longer, I guess, than we anticipated. I mean, lockdown kind of put a hold on everything, So it was tough, but we finally got it finished.
And you used a lot of great collaborators for this album. Do you remember which song you finished first that made the album?
Great question. What's interesting is it's kind of just like ironic, but the first song written for the album was the last song we finished, and I don't know why that. It's just that's the way it went.
You worked with one of my favorite singer-songwriters of all time, Dan Wilson. Had you met him before this writing process?
Man, that's so cool that you know that. No, I hadn't, and that was just so crazy to get that call. He kind of sought me out and had me over to his house, and we wound up writing like an incredible song together. Clearly, he's incredibly talented. But yeah, man, he literally sat cross-legged on a couch with a hybrid of like a guitar ukulele, and we did not touch a single computer the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
We just wrote the whole song on that thing, and then we touched a computer and recorded like a little demo.
Was that the Los Angeles house or the Minnesota house?
The LA house, yeah.
Nice. That's when you know that you're doing pretty well. Do you like the idea of collaborating with other artists? Some artists kind of feel like it's agony because they go, hey, aren't I good enough? Can I have all the ideas on my own? And then other people go, no, the more the merrier.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a different thing when you're collaborating on the songwriting side versus the artistic side. I mean, there aren't like features on Mama's Boy, so we're not really collabing with, artists, but it's amazing to go into certain rooms and write songs with certain people. That's something that I learned in the process of making Malibu Nights. And in that process, I realized and kind of learned who maybe I gelled with more. Clearly, just like some days you're going to write good songs, some days you're going to write bad songs. In the same way, some people you just seem to like hop on the same wave with, and other people not so much. And so it's a learning process. It's kind of it's like dating. It's like
Yeah.
So, but at this point, I finally figured out like kind of who I work best with, and but Dan was kind of a wild card that it was just a real pleasure.
To get to this final track listing, around how many songs did you try to write for the album?
Good question. It's never like, hey, we need to hit 30 and pick 15. It's just you start writing and I think we probably left off like 10 songs. So the album's got 14 songs on it, and there's probably 10 out there 10 or more that won't see the light of day as of right now. And one of them strictly just because it kind of had the same tempo as another song. You know what I mean? It's just like they both can live, but let's just pick one. So
when you have leftover songs like that, do you start to think, we could shop them to other artists, or is it they didn't make the album for a reason?
Yeah, great question, man. It's something that I'm actually trying to decide right now. I would love to kind of explore that side of songwriting. I've never really tried to pitch any songs to anyone or anything like that. Write a lot of them. Most of the time, I'm trying to write myself a really good song. And so that's always second, like, oh, well, maybe somebody else. And we are starting to do that. But you know what? There might be a time and a season in my life where I just want to make these songs and put them out under a different name just for fun. I think that's what's like so cool. And, you just have seen bands in the past do that. It's just fun, man. And it's not like, oh, I'm not happy in LANY. It's like, I love LANY, but we just put out a third album. We have some leftover songs. I might just put them out under a different name. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, McCartney's done a few albums under alias over the years. There's The Fireman, and that was in different directions. But looking behind you, I know I joked about that who are your influences question, but I see a great Kurt Cobain photo. I see a Springsteen album and all that. Who was the first artist that you didn't just think, hey, that's a song, but I know this artist? For example, growing up, I heard Thriller a trillion times, but you don't right away think, well, that's Quincy Jones producing it.
Right. Interesting point. I think for me, it was John Mayer. I remember being in middle school and recognizing the strength of his songwriting. It was the first artist that really kind of blew me away. And then once I was in, I almost listened to him exclusively for almost a decade, and I haven't really been shy about talking about that. I just think for me, with his music, it kind of taught me how to write a song. And I'm not a great guitar player, but I feel like I'm pretty good at writing guitar parts because of listening to him for so long. Mm-hmm. I learned so much through his restraint, because the guy can play. The guy can absolutely play. But when you listen to his recordings, I mean, the guitar solo on Edge of Desire is 5 notes. Do you know what I mean? But it's just the way he places them and the way he plays and things like that. So that would probably be my first artist that I really just became completely obsessed with and wanted to emulate and be, and I wanted to write songs like him.
Did you ever have a metal phase?
I didn't, a lot of my friends were into some pretty heavy screamo bands, but never metal. But it was cool in high school to wear the skinny jeans and the studded belt and that kind of thing, that aesthetic, but I never got into metal.
Well, it's an interesting thing that, again, looking at the people behind you, like Kurt Cobain, for example, people thought of him as being the kind of anti-metal, but the truth was that he started out on Black Sabbath and the Monkees at the same time. You never know. A lot of the Swedish and Norwegian songwriters were in black metal bands, for example.
Totally. That's crazy.
So, I didn't know if, I played metal in junior high.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I was playing jazz. My granny was in a nursing home. I started studying jazz when I was 12, and then I realized that the nursing home would pay me anywhere from 35 to $75 an hour to go and play jazz standards, depending on how nice the nursing home was. But my granny was in a nursing home, and she wasn't in a very nice one, so I only got $35 an hour at hers. But there was one down the street from my neighborhood that was more of an assisted living kind of situation that could spend a little bit more money. So it's not cool to say, what 14-year-old is, going around Tulsa, Oklahoma playing nursing homes, but that's what I did.
I didn't realize that you're from Tulsa. That is one of the coolest music cities that people don't really realize, is because Shelter Records was there and Leon Russell, that whole catalog. Hanson, Charlie Wilson of the Gap Band.
Yep. Keep going and inform these people.
Bob, what's his name? The pedal steel guitar player, Bob Wills, I think was his name.
That's correct.
Jackson, The Outsider's House.
It's a cool town, isn't it? I mean, I didn't think it was cool growing up, but, part of getting older and then realizing, oh, you know what? Part of who I am is as a product of where I'm from,
Did you ever go to any of the sites that were filmed for the movie UHF?
No, I've never even heard of that movie, to be honest.
Oh, Weird Al Yankovic's movie that he wrote and directed in the late 80s. Not relevant. But anyway, back to you. Where did the idea of having all the lowercase characters for your songs come from?
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember Twitter starting in 2009, and I don't know why, man. I've always just been so aesthetically driven, I guess. I just like the way lowercase letters look. But then if I have to add a number into anything, I put it all in uppercase. So everything top and bottom and uniform. It's just something that I've always done. But we did it on the early EPs, And then we kind of went to the more traditional capitalized things on the debut album. And, you know, let's be grown up, let's be official. And we did it on Malibu Nights. And then, you know, for Mama's Boy, I was like, look, man, this is such a self-reflective album. You know, it should just be exactly who I am and what I do. I always text in lowercase. I tweet in lowercase. I write my professional emails in lowercase. It just is what it is. And so we're going to do that on Mama's Boy. And look at Miss Swift put out her album, like last Friday, and every song title is in lowercase.
Well, you had the proof that you did it first, so more power to you. And Mama's Boy, great title because, as you said, it's very introspective. Have you ever seen the Happy Madison produced movie Grandma's Boy?
No, sir.
Okay. Eventually you'll have to do that. It's a very funny movie.
I bet.
Now, as somebody who has hundreds of millions of streams, 15 years ago, that would have been the most defining characteristic of a person's career, that they had all those streams. Now it's obviously a lot of people go viral and all that. But do you have a long-term goal that you're really hoping to accomplish with Mama's Boy?
Not necessarily, you know, and really not even with the band. I think the long-term goal would be to just get bigger every single day, which is something that we've been able to do over the last 5 years. Yeah. You know, we've never had a real viral moment. There's never been a spike. There's never been like, you know, nothing. It's just been slow and steady. And what's interesting is, like, you know, you're talking about one metric of success. You know, it could be streams on Spotify. It could be followers on Instagram. It could be YouTube views. But one thing that I've always found to be the truest metric of success is how many butts can you put in seats. And, you know, there's a lot of artists on Instagram that have like 14 million that are, you know, can't sell 300 tickets down the street. And so that's why I say I feel like that's the truest metric of success. But it's also a really weird thing when we cannot play a show and we cannot go on tour. And one thing I love so much is going on tour and being reminded how much this means to people, because, you know, you work so hard on a project, you put a song up on the internet, and then you go, okay, like, I hope you like it. But when you go and play a show, you see how much it means to people. You see how hard they're like singing the words back to you. And that's what is the most rewarding thing for me. So it's just an interesting time, isn't it?
To say the very least. Well, 2 quick questions if you got a minute, and then you're a free man. Okay. With being holed up just like all of us, spending more time indoors than you probably were before March.
Yeah.
Any TV or film discoveries that you can pass along?
Yes, I am currently addicted and obsessed with MasterChef, Gordon Ramsay's show. On my 3rd season of watching it. And now I think that, like, my palate is so sophisticated and I'm judging everything I eat now, which is hilarious. I've also like tried to like cook more in the kitchen, and I'm realizing the importance of olive oil and salt and peppers. 3 very basic ingredients that are absolutely mandatory to nail in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I like to watch that. The bad thing is I watch that at night, and then I just like the second I turn it on, like, oh my God, I'm famished. So then I just wind up eating my whole kitchen at night, which is just the worst thing ever. I got to get it under control.
Well, I'm pretty sure your rider will be changing in the near future. Looking forward to seeing what goes on there eventually. Yeah. So the closing question, any last words for the kids?
What's up, kids? Love y'all. Thanks so much for listening to our band and listening to music. We miss you. And the second we can go back on tour, you know we will.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to seeing you live in New York when that eventually happens, but keep up the great work there.
You're in New York.
I'm in New York.
Dude, is that your Pac-Man machine?
That's the Pac-Man machine.
Wow, this space is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, if I get an 8x10 from you guys, that'll go on the wall instead. So.
Awesome. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Hopefully we'll get one. But thanks again for your time, and keep up the greatness there.
Paltrocast.